Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Matt, and this is a completely different video than others on my YouTube channel. So recently, I have stumbled across a very interesting article called "I almost got fired for using React in our enterprise app," and I decided to comment on it. So before we get started, please hit the like button, subscribe for a better reach. The article was written by Razvan, and he works as a software architect for some sort of consulting company. It wasn't clarified within the article. In the summer 2018, Razvan was called by his boss to join him for a Skype call with the client. And they discussed migration of big enterprise application written with WPF, I think it stands for Windows Presentation Foundation, into web app running in the cloud. The client was the CTO of big Canadian company with a development outsourced to India. Most of the developers were working in .NET building the desktop apps, which is very important for this story. So I have my MacBook here, and I'm going to read you some of the details about this project. It is a big enterprise app with more than 220 views, which are very customizable. It must display large amount of data in data grids. It has a modular application, allowing the multiple teams to work on it at the same time. It is a multi-year project with long-term support, and it requires a quick onboarding for .NET developers. And very important fact, the CTO of this big Canadian company told Razvan that he shouldn't use Angular because he doesn't like how they were handling the reverse compatible with AngularJS by dropping it. So this was one of the requirements. So knowing the company climate, Razvan decided to build a proof of concept in React and Redux. And after 2 months of development by 3 developers, they showed the application to the client. And he liked it so much. It was so responsive, so quick, and it was easy to develop. 3 people made a huge progress within a very short time. So they decided React is the way to go. So after the very successful proof of concept, Razvan was called by the CTO to discuss how they are going to onboard the team in India. And they decided they are going to give them some introduction meeting, what they decided, and how to develop the application in React. The very first meeting with .NET tech leads led into the following question. Let me quote some of them. Where is the dependency injection, and what do you mean there is no need for one? Here is one, in Versify.js. And I can't agree with this statement, there is no need for one, because there is one in React. It's called Context API, which allows us to inject props into the components. It's inversion of control. Another thing is, Redux uses the connect method, which allows us to inject the properties and state from the global state into the component, which is an implementation of inversion of control. So yes, React supports very similar mechanism to dependency injection. It's called inversion of control. Another problem was functional components. No, we don't like them. Let's use class components. Have in mind that this discussion was in the summer 2018, where React didn't support hooks yet. And another point was, why do these functions just hang around? Why aren't they encapsulated inside service classes to make them static? Why would they? Where is the retry policy for the API? Let's implement one using Poly.js. It's a fair approach. Poly.js is built by Netflix, and this company has good credibility, so I think it was a good choice. And another point was how to run it in Visual Studio, not in Visual Studio Code. And Razvan actually noticed that it's clear to him that the .NET team wants to write .NET in React, and obviously it's not the way to go. I think they're supposed to either step back and discuss with the CTO that the Angular is a better way to go because it's more similar to .NET. And Razvan actually had a very similar observation. Let me quote him. I just realized that React is not Java or .NET developer friendly. Angular would be a better choice because of similar design patterns. And I agree. So another problem for Razvan was that React is an unopinionated library, not a framework. So the developer needs to find their own way of doing stuff, such as what sort of router you want to use, how do you want to deal with forms, do you want to use global state? If yes, do you want to use Redux or Mobex or Flux? I don't know, any other solution? How do you want to deal with internationalization? So the developer needs to find a way to do the things. And apparently, it was a big deal to make decisions for this organization because they had a very formal process which required building proof of concept. So it took them more than 3 weeks to find the set of libraries they are going to use for this project. And everybody was complaining, why does it take so long? After 9 months of development, the team completed 25% of the project. And in this time, React introduced hooks. Some of the team members noticed that functional components are as good as class components, so they really wanted to use them. So the team decided that from now on, it is okay to use functional components with hooks. And now actually Razvan started to complain because now they had 3 different ways of doing the same things. Class component, functional component, and functional component with hooks. Another problem Razvan had that people started to use local state over putting everything in the global one. And I think this is the right approach. In the global state, we're supposed to store normalized data which is used by many components. There is no good reason to store the information about the current button on the page. It's just cluttering it. And another problem they encounter is that the development tools started to be so slow. The continuous integration build took more than 15 minutes. Razvan actually noticed they have more than 1200 dependencies and they take more than 600 megabytes in total. Apparently, Node tools don't work that well on Windows, so developers needed to restart their development servers several times per day, and it costed more than Tesla Model 3 annually, so more than 40,000 US dollars. But for the enterprise, it shouldn't be so much. In my opinion, this is not a problem with React by itself, but with JavaScript community. JavaScript developers love to create libraries, and there is even a library called remraf to remove files from the file system, although you can do it with a single command. Of course, I'm exaggerating right now, but to some sort of degree it is like that. And the last and the biggest problem Razvan has about React is that the ecosystem around it is getting deprecated so quickly. He decided to use some middleware for Redux called redux-saga, which in his opinion is slowly dying. Personally, I have no experience with redux-saga, so I cannot really comment on that, but Razvan says that this project is sort of left behind and is no longer maintained. And now I really need to quote him. Developers love React for 3 reasons: simplicity, flexibility, and ecosystem. React's team enjoyed experimenting with new ideas, but this is killing the ecosystem. They should be brave and take the blame for it. Let me check React license. MIT license, permissions commercial use, modification distribution private use, limitation no liability, no warranty. And I have mixed feelings about what he said, because he gets this library for free, and it is built by one of the best software houses in the entire world, like by Facebook, and it's completely free. And now he is blaming people who developed this library that he made bad decisions. That's what actually he's doing, I think. And I think it's not fair. Let's think what he did. He decided to build expensive enterprise application based on free software, and he expects that somebody will be responsible for it. A few years back, large companies used to pay money for enterprise frameworks, so they have reverse compatibility and long-term support. And if you build something open source, you need to assess the risk. There is a possibility that Facebook abandon React, and you need to know how to leverage it. Either you fork the library and build it on your own, or you start the project from scratch. You need to be aware of it. It's only your fault that you didn't do the assessment correctly. And actually now we reach the point when he explains how the company works. It seems like it's full of politics and finger pointing. They need to find somebody who is guilty for it, and nobody wants to take the responsibility. So project managers complained that why do you spend so much time on upgrading dependencies? Why the development is slowing down? Why did the application become buggy and unstable? So everything was escalated to the management, and he needed to defend himself because otherwise he would be fired. To understand the environment in which this software was built, I decided to dig a bit deeper, and I found out that the client was located in Canada. Razvan team was located in Europe, in Romania, and the .NET team was located in India. So in the most of the cases, they had up to 3 hours of overlapping working time. So I think the biggest problem in this project was actually the communication rather than library or framework. And to sum it up, Rajvan says, I love React, I would love to use it for my personal project, but never for the enterprise application. And I think he's right. In these circumstances, Angular would be a better option. But you cannot blame React for it. You just chose very wrong tool for it. React can be amazing for enterprise applications. You just need to know how to build them. Look at Facebook. They are very successful with React. And they even build it. So, yeah, there are some positive use cases. You just need to know how to use the tool. Let's see what other users are saying about this article. So let's go to the comment section. The most clapped comment is comment by Charles F. Munat. And he says, all the problems you describe, all of them are unrelated to React, which is a bit disingenuous, as your clickbaity title implies that React is to blame. But these are issues with the personal training, office politics management, etc. Another comment by Magnus Tovslit, I hope I pronounced it properly. Interesting story. I don't think the issues you describe have anything to do with React in particular. Another comment by Sanja Sakdev. I don't understand how can a backend developer lead try to impose his view on the front-end stack. That's also sort of right. And that's it for today. Thank you for spending several minutes with me. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you didn't, please dislike it. This will give me some feedback. Are you interested in hearing my comments on other topics in the future? Please subscribe and stay tuned for the next videos of mine.